Okay, disarticulate with the atlas. With the atlas, sorry. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, everything I just said. Okay, there. These are our, then this is more cervicals here. Okay? Now, I'm going to save this one for later when I talk about pre and post zygapopsies. Okay? That's cervicals. We're done with those. Next, we're talking about our, what's next? After cervical. Thoracic. Okay? Thoracics always have the spine pointing towards the tail. Okay? See them? They're pointing towards the tail. So if we had this in front of you, and you had to know which end is anterior and posterior, you've got to move it so that spine is pointing in a direction, and you know that if it's pointing that way, then that's the tail and the caudal end, posterior, and this is anterior end. Okay? This is the neural process. It's elongated. Okay? Thoracic vertebrae, there's 13 of them. They vary in size and shape, blah, 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 blah. They have at least one pair of articulation surfaces for paired ribs, called the rib facets, okay? So let's look at our things. That's not the right one. If you look at the spine here, okay, you can see the ribs coming down. Wherever the rib attaches to the vertebrae is where the rib facet would be. Okay, so you can see that right here. This little flat part right there is a rib facet where a rib would connect to. Okay? What else is there? On the more anterior thoracic vertebrae, the rib facets are located at the end of lateral projections. Lateral just means projections that are coming off the side. Okay? And are fairly obvious, but on the more posterior, it's harder to see them, and you can't really see it. Here's our centrum. Okay? Centrum, whatever the big circular part is, just beneath where the dorsal nerve is. Okay? So those are our thoracic. Next, we hit our lumbars. Okay? Lumbars are probably the most obvious ones because they've got these giant wings. Okay? The lumbar vertebrae don't have rib facets, okay, but they have the largest centrum. That's that big circle, it's all thickened right there. Okay? They have relatively small neural arches right there. Okay? They have a pair of ventral projections, ventral meaning on the bottom, versus on the top, okay, called transverse processes. Transverse processes. Right here, these big wing things, right? On this one, it's a little bit smaller, but that's still a transverse process. Okay? They are directed anteriorly. So, if you had it facing this way, the head of the cat would be over here, and the tail over here. Because the transverse processes are always going to point towards the head. Okay? That's that. The three sacral vertebrae have fused together to form a sacrum. The sacrum articulates with the pelvic girdle or the pelvis. It's a structural arrangement in most mammals which have at least 3 to 5 sacral vertebrae, blah, blah, blah. And then you've got a whole bunch of little caudal vertebrae, which are pretty easy and have really tiny little holes right there. Okay. So, you must be able to distinguish between anterior zygapopsies and posterior zygapopsies, okay? Pre- and post-zygapopsies, respectively. These are not 4 different structures. They're 2 different words for the same structure, okay? Anterior is the same as pre-zygapopsy. Posterior zygapopsy is the same as post-zygapopsy, okay? Either one would be correct on a practical, okay? You just have to get actually which one's which first, okay? So, the way this works is that these are all these other little bits that you see coming off the front side here, okay? This, I said, was anterior, right? Okay? So you know that there's going to be another vertebrae in front of it, okay? If this is anterior, then these are the pre-zygapopsies, the anterior zygapopsies. If this is anterior, then this is posterior, okay? Then these are posterior zygapopsies, these parts right here, okay? Now, what you're looking at is the fact that this is painted black right here, but not all of them are. Like, we could put this one up here, okay? Which end is this?
That's ventral, so that's before anterior.
This is anterior, right? Okay. So then you know that these are anterior zygapopsies. Anterior zygapopsies are always going to be hands up, okay? The vertebrae that is coming before it, the posterior zygapopsies are going to be hands down, okay? So, this is the head, this is the vertebrae in front. It's going to articulate by putting its hands on top of the ones in front of it, okay? So, the ones on top here, post-zygapopsies, hands down. Okay, they're on top. It's like going like this, alright? The ones on the bottom are pre-zygapopsies, hands up. Okay, their hands are like this. So, anterior, pre-zygapopsies, posterior, post-zygapopsies. Hands up, hands down. Got it?
Got it.
That's how we do the spine. Alright?